Virgo, someone is changing because of you, and you don't even know it. He's becoming softer, calmer, more reliable. But here's the twist: he's never said a word. He's watching, quietly, learning from everything you do, and it's shifting him in ways no one else ever could. You think you're just living your life, but to him, you're the example he never had. And once you hear what the universe is revealing about this connection, you'll never look at silent influence the same way again. There's something happening around you right now, Virgo, and you probably don't even notice it. You're just going about your day, sticking to your routine, trying to stay organized and keep things flowing the way you always do. But somewhere in your orbit, there's a man, maybe someone close, maybe someone in the background who's watching, not in a creepy way, not in a way that should worry you. He's watching because he sees something in you that he doesn't see in himself. Yet, every time you follow through on your word, he notices. When you speak clearly and with intention instead of sugarcoating things, he listens. When you do the right thing, even when no one's watching, he feels it. Because deep down, he's been lost. Maybe not completely out of control, but disconnected from something real, something solid. And you, Virgo, are quietly becoming that something. You're not putting on a show. You're not trying to impress him. You don't even know that he's picking up on your patterns. But your ability to stay grounded in the chaos of the world around you is making him rethink his own habits. Maybe he used to be reckless with time, always late, brushing things off with a laugh. But now, he's starting to show up earlier, double-check his plans, and think twice before making a promise he might not keep. He's not trying to become you. He's just trying to become a better version of himself. Because you've made him believe it's possible. And that's the beautiful part. You didn't even mean to. You didn't walk in with a lesson plan or try to change anyone. You just lived your truth. And that, Virgo, is more powerful than any advice you could have given. Think about how rare that is in this world. Most people follow the loudest voice in the room, or whoever has the flashiest words. But this man, he's following you because of how you carry yourself in silence. Because you're consistent. Because you're kind even when people aren't looking. Because you remember the little things. Those things aren't small to him anymore. They're starting to feel like answers he's been searching for. And maybe you felt invisible lately. Maybe you've wondered if all this effort you put into doing things right is even noticed. Well, now you know it is. It's noticed. It's needed. And it's changing someone who desperately needed that quiet example. That's the impact you're having, Virgo. Not with grand speeches or viral posts, but with steady, genuine energy. The kind that doesn't ask to be seen, but ends up being unforgettable. And here's the thing, he's not going to tell you. At least, not right away. He might not even realize just how much you've impacted him until much later. But the shift has already started. You'll see it in small ways, how he asks more thoughtful questions, how he starts finishing what he begins, how he carries himself a little straighter when you're around. These aren't coincidences. They're results. This influence you have is rare. Not everyone has the ability to change others without saying a word. But Virgo, your strength isn't in being loud, it's in being steady. You are the still point in a spinning world, and people notice even when they don't admit it. Especially someone who's been secretly craving that kind of presence. That man sees your energy as something to aspire to. Even if he doesn't have the words for it yet, you may never get credit. You might never hear a thank you. But the ripple effect is real. His future relationships will be different. His friendships will shift. He'll be more present with the people he loves. And all of that begins with what he learned from watching you. So let's talk about why this is even happening. Why are you, of all people, having this kind of impact? It's because of the way you live consistently, intentionally, and with standards that most people either don't understand or don't bother keeping. You're not flashy. You're not out here trying to be anyone's role model. But your actions speak louder than any lecture ever could. People may have told you that you're too serious, too intense, too detail-focused. Maybe they've made jokes about how you need everything in order, or how you always overthink. But that's exactly why you're being watched. That's what's pulling this man toward you. It's because in a world that changes its mind every 5 minutes, you are steady. You think before you speak. You do what you say you'll do. You don't ghost people. You don't cancel plans last minute just because you're bored or overwhelmed. And in today's world, that's rare. This man, he's probably used to chaos, used to people letting him down, saying one thing and doing another. Maybe he's even been that person himself, someone who couldn't be counted on, someone who floated from one excuse to the next. And then you showed up, not in some grand entrance, but just living your life the way you always have. That, in itself, became a wake-up call. He didn't realize at first, but little by little, things about you started standing out. How you take your time making decisions instead of rushing in. How you handle responsibilities without needing praise or applause. How you listen when people talk and remember the things they say. You don't do it for attention. You do it because it's who you are. And that's exactly why it's working. You're not trying to change him. You're not preaching or correcting. You're just being real. Being solid. And that quiet consistency is confronting everything unstable in his life. It's making him look at himself differently. He's starting to feel a little uncomfortable with the things he used to accept. That's how growth starts, with a little discomfort. You're showing him what a grounded life actually looks like, and he's starting to crave that for himself. Here's the deeper part, Virgo. You've been criticized for these same traits: your discipline, your standards, your structure. Some people saw it as rigid, but now you're seeing those qualities are leadership. And real leadership doesn't come with a title or a spotlight. It shows up in moments when nobody's looking, when you follow through, even when it's hard, when you hold space for someone without needing to be right. You're not here to fix anyone. That's not your job, but your life is the invitation. You're living proof that it's possible to be calm in a storm, loyal in a world of short attention spans, and honest when it would be easier not to be. That's why he's watching. That's why he's learning. Because everything about the way you live is reminding him of the kind of man he wants to become. And that's not just influence, Virgo, that's impact. You've probably had moments where you questioned whether it was even worth it holding yourself to these standards, staying consistent when no one seems to notice, doing the right thing when shortcuts are easier. But now you're seeing the answer unfold in real time. This man is proof that your integrity matters, that your steady presence is exactly what this chaotic world needs more of. He may not say it out loud, but you've shifted something inside him. Maybe he used to live for attention or validation. Maybe he used to bounce from one person to the next, searching for something real. Now, he's seeing that real isn't loud. Real is grounded, and that's what you are, Virgo. Grounded, rooted, strong, and it's inspiring in ways words can't capture. Your energy walks into a room before you do. It sets the tone, and while you might feel overlooked by the people who don't understand you, the ones who are ready for change, they see it, they feel it. This man does. He may not be ready to fully admit it, but a part of him is becoming better simply by being around you. That's the silent revolution you've started, and it's only the beginning. Let's talk about the moment it almost went the other way. The moment this man nearly made the same mistake he's made 100 times before. You know, the kind of moment I'm talking about, the crossroads, the choice between reacting out of habit or choosing something better. And this time, something was different. Something held him back. He was standing on the edge of a decision. Maybe it was about walking away from someone who needed him. Maybe it was lying to avoid conflict. Or maybe it was just repeating a toxic pattern he swore he was done with. Whatever it was, he was right there, one step from being the version of himself he's always been, the one that sabotages, avoids, runs, and then, like a flash, he thought of you. Not because you said anything, not because you were there, but because your energy has lingered with him longer than you could ever know. He remembered how you stay calm when others lose it, how you ask questions instead of jumping to conclusions, how you choose honesty, even when it's messy. And suddenly, that old behavior didn't feel so easy anymore. It felt heavy. It felt wrong. It felt small. That's what your influence does, Virgo. It makes shortcuts feel cheap. It makes carelessness feel like a betrayal. Not because you guilt him into anything, but because you've shown him a higher standard. And when someone's seen what real integrity looks like, it's hard to keep lying to themselves afterward. He may have paused. He may have walked away. He may have picked up the phone, typed the message he used to send, then deleted it. That moment, the one where everything could have slipped back into the past, became the beginning of something new. Not because you were trying to save him, but because he didn't want to keep losing himself. Your presence became the reason he didn't go back to being who he was. And look, he might not give you credit for it. He may never say it out loud. That's not the point. The point is, you've interrupted a cycle, a karmic loop that's played out in his life for years. And for the first time, the pattern cracked. Because of you. Because of who you are. Because of how you live. This isn't just about him learning from you. This is about you being a spiritual interruption to something that's been playing on repeat for far too long. You're the energy that made him hesitate, that made him rethink, that made him breathe before acting. And you know how rare that is? We live in a world that moves fast. People make reckless decisions, say things they don't mean, hurt others, and then blame stress or timing. But you, Virgo, you've become the anchor in someone else's storm, not by controlling, not by preaching, just by existing with intention. That one moment where he stopped himself, where he chose a different path, that moment is now a seed of transformation, one he'll keep watering, whether he realizes it or not. And years from now, when he's different, better, more grounded, it'll trace back to this, to you, and to that one invisible moment where your example was louder than his excuses. Let's be honest, Virgo, you're probably not going to get a thank you card in the mail. This man may never sit you down and say the words you deserve to hear, but don't let the silence fool you. Just because he hasn't spoken it doesn't mean he hasn't felt it. In fact, it's the quietest people who are sometimes moved the most. You see, love doesn't always look like confessions and grand gestures. Sometimes, love is a shift in behavior. Sometimes, love shows up when someone remembers the things you said, even when you thought they weren't listening. And that's what's happening here. He may not say much, but he's absorbing everything. He's thinking before he speaks now. He's showing up to things on time, paying more attention to how his actions affect other people. He's becoming more thoughtful, more present, more steady. That's not an accident. That's not a phase. That's your influence. That's what you planted without even realizing it. And here's the part that might hit you hardest. He's probably told other people about you. Maybe not with your name, maybe not with details, but in the way he talks about values now, the way he talks about the kind of person he wants to be. He's describing you without even knowing it. You've become a standard, not a comparison, a compass. something he holds in his mind when he asks himself, what would someone with real integrity do? And your energy answers the question. But Virgo, this kind of impact isn't always visible. You won't always get applause. People don't line up to congratulate the steady hand, the calm voice, the one who holds things together without needing credit. But that's what makes it so powerful. You're the quiet kind of love that lingers. The kind people remember when everything else falls apart. He may never say it, but you've changed how he views love, how he defines respect, how he measures maturity, and over time, you'll see it in how he treats others, in how he shows up for his friends, his work, his future relationships. You'll see pieces of yourself in the better choices he starts making. That's your legacy. Not a title, not a label, but a deep, invisible imprint on someone's evolution. And yes, it might feel bittersweet to know you helped build something without being part of the final picture. But you weren't meant to be the destination. You were the turning point. And sometimes that's even more powerful. What you gave wasn't wasted. What you showed him didn't vanish. It lives in the way he's slowly becoming someone more honorable, more grounded, more conscious. And even if he never says the words thank you, Virgo, you can trust the truth is written in how he lives from here on out. This was never random. Virgo, none of it. Not the timing, not the connection, not the way you just happened to cross paths with this man when he was on the edge of becoming someone better or staying stuck in old habits. You didn't just show up. You were sent. The universe doesn't waste energy. It doesn't place people in our path for no reason. And if you've been wondering why you were drawn to someone who seemed so far from ready, so far from your level of self-awareness, this is why. Because your presence was part of his awakening. You were the assignment. And maybe that sounds dramatic, but think back. How many times have you poured into people who weren't ready? How many times have you been the grounding force in the middle of someone else's chaos? It's not because you're a magnet for brokenness. It's because you carry a frequency that activates something different in people. You don't have to fix them. You don't even have to try. Your alignment makes them feel what misalignment really looks like. And once they feel it, they can't unfeel it. This man didn't need another lesson. He needed an example. And that's exactly what you've been, a living, breathing embodiment of consistency, accountability, calm, and real care. The kind that isn't loud or performative. The kind that speaks through energy. That's why he noticed you. That's why he started to change. But here's what's important. This mission wasn't just for him. It was for you, too. Because somewhere along the way, you started questioning whether your way of being was too much, too structured, too demanding, too idealistic. And this experience has been the universe's way of showing you that, no, it's not too much, it's exactly enough. It's exactly what the world needs more of. You weren't meant to shrink. You weren't meant to compromise your integrity to make others comfortable. You weren't meant to water yourself down to keep the peace. You were meant to hold your standard, to live by it, and to let others rise if they want to meet you there. And some won't. But the ones who do, they'll never forget what it took. This man may have been the first to rise in your presence, but he won't be the last. Because now you see it. Now you know. Your energy isn't passive, it's catalytic. It initiates growth. It changes lives. And even if you're not standing next to him at the finish line, you were the one who pointed him in the right direction. That matters. More than you know. So don't dismiss the assignment just because it didn't come with recognition. Don't downplay your influence just because it didn't end in a relationship. What you did here was sacred. You helped someone remember who they could be. And in doing that, you remembered who you are. Too, this wasn't random. It was orchestrated, and you carried it out with quiet strength, as always. And let's be real, this isn't the first time you've been placed in someone's life to be a wake-up call. You've probably walked into spaces and felt the atmosphere shift. People either step up or step out. That's the power of your presence. It doesn't demand change, it invites it. It doesn't force respect, it earns it just by existing. You've done this before. Maybe without realizing it. Maybe you've watched someone evolve after knowing you, even if they never said thank you. Maybe you've had people leave your life, only to return years later and admit they weren't ready for the version of themselves that being around you required. That's not coincidence, that's evidence. So the next time you doubt your impact, remember this: the way you live is a message, a quiet but powerful message, and the ones who are ready to hear it, they do, loud and clear. So now, Virgo, here you are standing at the end of this chapter, but right at the edge of something new. Because this experience, this man, this entire quiet transformation wasn't just about what you gave. It was about what you're now ready to receive. You've been the example, the lesson, the catalyst, but the universe isn't done with you yet. In fact, it's just getting started. The kind of love, respect, and depth you've been quietly modeling for others, that's what's about to start showing up in your own life in ways you never imagined. Because here's the truth: when you've spent your life giving integrity, loyalty, and real care without asking for anything in return, there comes a point where that energy turns around and finds its way back to you, and not in bits and pieces, in full. You're not going to have to earn it anymore. You've already paid your dues. Now it's your season to receive without explaining why you deserve it. And maybe, just maybe, that man, the one who's been watching, growing, shifting, maybe he'll come back around. Maybe he'll be ready to meet you at your level, not just emotionally, but spiritually, energetically, soulfully. But even if he doesn't, someone will. Someone who's already aligned, already awake, already able to stand beside you without needing you to hold them up. That's what this has all been preparing you for. You weren't being tested to prove your strength. You were being aligned to attract your match. And when that match shows up, you'll know. It won't be chaotic. It won't feel like work. It will feel like exhale. Because it will finally be someone who recognizes the value of your quiet strength and reflects it back to you with their own. So as you move forward, don't question your impact. Don't water down your wisdom. Don't hide your standards just to make others feel more comfortable. The right people will see you. They will feel you. And they will show up ready. This is the moment where the universe turns its spotlight back on you. So take a deep breath, ground yourself, and get ready to receive everything you've been. And if this message felt like it was speaking directly to your spirit, pause for a second and really take that in. Because messages like this don't show up for no reason. If something inside you is shifting, if someone's energy is still lingering in your field, or if you've been sensing that someone is growing quietly because of you, drop a comment and share it. Because this isn't just a reading. This is confirmation. The way you live has been changing people. And now, it's your turn to be changed in all the right ways. And here's what I want you to carry with you. Virgo, the world may not always recognize the kind of power you hold, but those who need it the most, they feel it. Your consistency, your honesty, your quiet strength, it's a lighthouse for people who have lost their direction. You didn't come here to impress. You came here to align. And in doing so, you've become a mirror, a reflection of what's possible when someone chooses to live with intention. That's rare. That's sacred. And it deserves to be honored, even if no one claps for it. So don't you dare question your value based on how loud the applause is. Don't measure your worth by how many people thank you or stay. The ripple effect you create can't always be seen, but it is felt deeply, quietly, powerfully. And when you feel tired, when you wonder if it's even worth it, I hope you remember this. Someone out there is becoming better just by having known you. That's not small. That's legacy. Keep being who you are, Virgo. Keep living with purpose, not performance, because the lives you've touched, the souls you've awakened, and the energy you've shifted, they're all proof that your presence is more than enough. Let this be your reminder you are the impact, you are the shift, you are the sign, and maybe you'll never fully know the reach of your influence. Maybe you'll never see all the ways your energy helped someone choose differently. But that's okay. Real impact isn't always visible. It's not always followed by recognition or closure. Sometimes it's just the quiet shift in someone's life, the kind they only notice when they're finally ready to grow. And when that happens, your energy is still there, like a gentle guide, like a compass they didn't know they were following. That's the kind of presence you have. Not demanding, not flashy, but unforgettable. So if you've been wondering whether it mattered, whether anyone noticed, whether the love you gave without conditions was ever received, the answer is yes. 1,000 times yes. Maybe not in the way you expected, but in the way that lasts, because the truth is, Virgo, some people aren't meant to stay. They're meant to transform. And you were the spark. You were the shift. You were the permission they didn't know they needed. That's your gift. That's your magic. And now, it's time you see it for yourself.